Hey guys, this is Mrs. Heiser. I'm bummed I can't be at school with you guys, but I did bring the studio to you. So hopefully you guys can create some art at home. And I will be doing some projects along the way, giving you some helpful tips, talking about things that we would normally talk about in class. So hopefully that will be helpful. So if you are one of my Tippett students, you should have picked up at school a little packet, basically, and that would have a little intro sheet, and that talks about making your first sketchbook while you're at home, designing a cover, maybe some ideas, and we're going to go over that right now, actually. If you are in kindergarten and first grade, your sketchbook kind of looks like this. This is my drawing sketchbook. It has your name spot right here that you could use for today while we design our sketchbook. You could also choose to use the back as your cover if you'd like more space to design. If you guys are in second grade, you actually got both. You got that sketchbook and a regular one. And third through fifth, you guys got a sketchbook that looks like this, stapled together with those same instructions. And then on the instructions for parents, there's also a way for you guys to keep publishing your artwork on Artsonia. So if you make something at home that you're super proud of and we did together on the station, you could publish it, or even if it's a project that you just worked on your own, you could also publish it on Artsonia so that it's on your portfolio to keep forever. And then the last page, I just added a little bit of a, helpful tips. We talk about Zentangles sometimes. You guys can see some Zentangles in there. So this might be some inspiration, I was hoping, for you guys when we kind of do some of your designs. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to grab my sketchbook and we're going to talk about some art terms that we would use in class and some ideas. I'm going to show you my sketchbook, and today we're just going to work on the cover for that, okay? So behind me, there are also some ideas over here. Second grade, you might recognize that. It's kind of like our Zentangle hands. So that artist just used their hands on their cover and then made some cool design work around it. This one right over here, I got that idea. That was Cassie Stevens. She's an art teacher also, and she had the kids do their name and then just some simple lines that would go above and below those lines, repeating them over and over again. So you guys could do something like that as well. Those were done with markers. So if you have markers at home or crayons, you might not have all the supplies that I have. So we're going to be resourceful. You could also use markers as watercolors by just adding water to them, and they'll kind of bleed and act like watercolors. Some of you might have watercolors at home. I'm going to use watercolors, some oil pastels. If you don't have oil pastels at home, crayons also work really great too. They're that same wax, so they resist watercolors or water if you're adding color that way. I was kind of more inspired by something like this. A lot of layering. In art class, we talk about layering a lot and using all of our space, balance, and talk about shape, line, color, and texture. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, those elements of art: shape, line, color, and texture. So I started my sketchbook and I actually found some letters like this. The A, if you look, was actually from a birthday bag, a happy birthday bag that we had at home. The R is actually 3D. If you see, it's like made out of cardboard. I used that from a rock kit that the boys got to paint. And then the T I actually found on Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You might even have some of these cereal boxes at home. You could even cut letters out. You could use magazines. For my design, I also cut out some textures I'm going to add in here. I think I cut that one for that shape here. And some cool colored pieces out of magazines. If you have magazines or newspapers, you could use that for your collaging here. So let's just take a moment to look at some art words here. So keyword for right now, artist. We are all artists. We are going to create at home. Even though we have this challenge where we're not at school and we don't have Mrs. Heiser's art supplies or my art room, you guys are still artists and you're still able to create. Now, this right now, studio, this is going to be my studio for the time being. I just have a desk and some art resources for you guys to share. So you can make your studio anywhere. It could be at home, it could be in your room, on a table. Ask mom and dad where a good spot for that is to work and create your own studio. Today we're using sketchbooks. We did not make sketchbooks this year in art class. We had a lot of other stuff going on, so we didn't get to them yet. But sketchbooks are a great thing that artists use all the time. Sometimes they convey their ideas in there or kind of get ideas out as they might think of them. Sometimes they use it if they're planning a painting and they want to sketch things out, or keeping ideas. Some people keep notes even in their sketchbooks. When I travel, I like to keep a sketchbook sometimes. I used to do it more before I had kids, but I would travel and I'd stop at places that I thought were really beautiful and sketch them. When my cousin came from New York City, she is a fashion designer in New York City, and we would stop at the zoo when she came here and we would sketch animals. So when you're an artist, it doesn't have to be just in your house. You can take your sketchbook anywhere and sketch things that might be of interest to you or important to you as you travel, or even as you're at home. Maybe you find something beautiful at home to sketch. But we're going to use our sketchbooks to keep your art in. Now, there are some extra pages in there so you guys can create on your own. Looking at this, I see lots of shapes. So I see shape of a heart, some circles, little arrow. I put that arrow on there for positive thinking. You know, right now it's really hard to get like down or stuck in our house. But positive thinking, I think, is really important. So I put that arrow up for me. Also the ocean waves. I kind of used lines to make waves. We were supposed to go to the ocean. I love the ocean. I absolutely love it. And just the sound of the waves, and it's very calming. Also colors, if you know me, my students know me, I love cool colors. So I started off with kind of a cool color scheme, some greens, blues, purples. I added some yellow here to make the purple in there pop. Talking about complementary colors we've talked about in class before if you guys are in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So looking at shapes, if you guys, you know, we've talked about shape a lot before. Shapes can be geometric, which would be like a circle, square, triangle. They have a name. They could also be organic or free-form shapes. So these ones kind of look like paint splotches, but you can come up with your own fun shapes. Maybe put a word or your name on your sketchbook like I did. Find some letters and kind of design around that. I also hid the word create in there, if you can read cursive there. So maybe some fun words or some fun things that kind of represent you. So how I use the cool colors, how I use the ocean waves for my lines, things that would represent you would be good to use. Talking about line, I said I used kind of like an ocean wave line. We've talked a lot about lines. You could do dashed lines, you could do zigzag lines or wavy lines or straight lines. I kind of like to make this cover a little bit abstract, meaning just shapes, lines, and colors. As far as texture, we've talked about texture as well. That's another element of art. There's implied texture or visual texture and real texture. So real texture is like if I feel something. We'll talk about things you can find around your house for texture. I even found, just sitting right next to me, these like grates, right? The air vents. Now, if you're going to use something like this, obviously ask Mom and Dad first. But these are great to make texture on when we're doing a crayon rubbing. Something like this, you could use a pizza pan, you could use the bottom of your shoe. Just make sure you don't get crayon on the object and ask Mom and Dad first. But this is actual texture. I'm feeling it. It's rough, it's bumpy, like a tree, right? If I were to feel my hair, it's soft. We've talked about texture a lot. So on our sketchbooks, we're not doing real texture. We're not actually like gluing this on, but you're going to make some implied texture by using a crayon to rub. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Hopefully you guys have crayons at home. Those work best for adding texture. So on my cover, like I said, I got started with some letters, just kind of a collage, kind of collaging things together. Let's say I want to add some texture right away. So if I go ahead and use this guy right here, you might have, I have texture sheets at school that look like this, that we can put under your paper and use crayons. So if I wanted these like bubbles, I could just set this right under here, right? And then I use my crayon and kind of use the side of it. Here, I'm going to turn my camera down so you can see. Okay. And I kind of just use the side of it, make sure that that's right under my paper. And you can use the side and those bubbles will kind of start to show up. I also like to blend colors. I don't like just using one plain color, if you guys know that about me in my classroom. So maybe some different blues, we could blend those together. I'm going to keep these bubbles in this circle space here. Okay, so this is a texture. I'm kind of using the side of the crayon to rub. You could also peel the crayon that paper off if that's easier for you. Maybe we'll add some of this kind of like greenish color in here too, kind of blend another color in. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. That's a nice texture. Okay, if you would like to try something at home, like your shoe or one of these grates, what you would do, the same thing, just kind of set it underneath, right? Let's do this down here and see what it looks like. Let's see, I'm sticking with my cool colors here, so I'm going to use, I think, like this purpley color. And we're just going to rub the same way on the side. And look, it's kind of cool that shows up like that, right? So you can use almost anything you find around the house that has an actual texture to put on your paper, or under your paper, I should say, and create that kind of a texture. It's kind of fun. Bottom of your shoe would be a great thing to use too. And then it doesn't really matter if you get a little crayon on it. And put those back when you get them. If you have like a pizza pan or something too, those usually have some holes in there to create some texture. All right, so once you've done your texture, you can see back behind my letters here, I did some texture as well. You could use some watercolors, and you guys know that crayons or oil pastels are kind of made out of wax, or like waxy, so they resist. It's called a resist method. Push the watercolors away. So I have some watercolors here, so I'm going to work on adding some color here. So I'll grab, I again was sticking with my cool colors. So I went from purple into blue. So if I wanted some more blue, I could kind of bring that out here, kind of fill my space. I really love filling the space. Okay. And maybe I could blend in another color, and I could paint right over the top of what I've already done. So like this stuff here, that's already crayon, and it will just kind of push that watercolor away. So you can fill your space up here really nice with some watercolors and paint right over the top of your crayon areas. Even this texture that I just did down here, I could use some watercolors right over. Oh, that kind of looks really cool. And maybe a different size brush if I get into that detailed area up top there. Now, if you're doing this right on your sketchbook that I gave you from school, this should work pretty well because this paper is nice and thick. If you don't have a sketchbook at home, or you are not in my class but you're watching this and you use some paper from at home, you might want to put something under this so it doesn't kind of bleed through your paper or make all the pages wet, right? It's not super wet. So I'm creating kind of a wash over that. That looks really neat, I think. Kind of starting to fill that space and layering, layering, layering. I also cut some pieces here from magazines that we could use. So you could use a newspaper, magazine, even those flyers that come in the mail that parents probably throw away or recycle. Just take some glue, and I'm going to glue that on. Okay, talk a lot about contrast too, which I like. So this is black and white, right? It kind of looked like water, which is why I liked it, because I use those waves on my paper. So I'm going to glue that right here. And then I really liked, in this magazine I had, there was some cool design by an artist, and I took that and I made a little heart shape. I wanted to put that right in the middle because I have a heart at the bottom of mine too with just words in it. But I thought that might make it really pop, add some contrast, right? Here's our black and white, and here's our color. Okay, I could also use some Sharpie around that to make it pop even more. In my background here, I might want to use some other bright colors or around here to make that heart stand out. I might want to stick with my cool color scheme and not do that. If I wanted to make a focal point where your eye goes right to it, I think that word art right now does that. It's kind of metallic-y. But if I did something like a red or an orange around here, I think that would become kind of a focal point because your eyes would go right to it because all these cool colors, and then boom, there's a warm color. So you guys can do a lot with these sketchbooks. If I just kind of finding stuff around your house, designing, adding some texture, and really playing around. Now, obviously mine's not done. I still have a lot of space to work with, but I don't want to take up too much time, and I want you guys to kind of get working and having fun with this. I'd love to see your sketchbook covers. So if you finish one and you would like to share it on Artsonia, there is an Art at Home tab, and you could just put your artwork right into that Art at Home tab, and I can see it. So I'll see it right away, approve it, and then it will be in your portfolio. I'd love to see you guys and the work that you've been doing. You can even share on Facebook, and some of your parents even have me on Facebook. They could send me messages. I love to see those that you guys are still creating at home. So this will be my little space, my little studio that you guys will see me at Try to be on here at least once a week, if not more, and give you guys some extra art activities for those of you who might finish something like this ahead of time. But I had fun with you guys today, creating your sketchbook covers. And like I said, if you guys are in kindergarten or first grade, just use the back of that sketchbook. You'll have a lot more room. You could do your cover design right on there too. Okay. So I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Oh, and don't forget, I wore my nice To High School and Beyond shirt. We're supposed to wear our Avid Day for March 31st at school to see you guys. So all the teachers were going to be in these cool shirts with Buzz Lightyear to promote Avid, but I can't see at school, but I'll see you on here. All right. Have a good day and keep creating.